What's up, guys? Welcome back to another module. Now, in this one, we're going to talk all about intentional spending or intentional cash flow management. This is kind of a different term. I don't really refer to this as budgeting a whole lot. I like to change up the terms. Why? Because words matter. One of the reasons that budgeting is so terrible is because we associate so much negative emotion with it, typically, especially if you're, as a couple and you ever review the budget. Hey, we have to look at the budget for this month. Everybody kind of cringes, or at least the vast majority of people do. So one of the reasons why budgeting is terrible is it goes right back to the psychology of money. We have so many negative emotions with it. And typically the feelings that are associated with it really are incentive to not do it. Okay. So maybe we want to try and be really good. We want to watch our spending, and you look at it once or twice, but then after that, you kind of fall out of the habit. It's because our emotions are fighting so hard to not do that thing. We really don't want to experience it. The most common emotions when it comes to this type of thing are shame, guilt, frustration, and a little bit of anger, typically towards the other person. If you're in a couple, typically towards the other person. Now, if I was going to say, hey, once a month or once a week, you're going to get together and you're going to feel shame and guilt and frustration and like you're a failure, and you're going to do that for an hour. I mean, how much fun does that sound to you? It's not fun at all. So that's why it just doesn't keep up. It's our emotions really blocking it. Now, again, logically, does it make sense that we would look at our spending, that we would look and see where it went in the past, make adjustments for the future? Absolutely. Of course it does. And any business can do this very objectively because it's not their money. But when we get to the personal side where it is your money, there's emotional attachment with everything you spend money on. There's an emotional attachment to everywhere money goes. And so because of all of these negative emotions and experiences, past experiences with budgeting, usually a sense of failure or something like that, it's really hard to bring ourselves to do it on a consistent basis. So we're going to flip the script here and make sure that we turn this into something that is actually helpful, that is motivating, that is a positive experience, and where we leave the negativity out of it completely. Okay. So the real purpose of budgeting or intentional spending is not to review the past. It's actually to dictate the future. It's all about creating a future that we want. Typically what happens is we say, okay, let's set budgets for these areas. Okay, great. We don't think about it again. And then the next month, we look at the past, we review it, and we say, oh, wow, we overspent in this category, we overspent in this category, we overspent in this category. Great. And that's about where we get stuck. There's two pieces here. It's important to audit the past because we have to hold ourselves accountable. We also have to do that in a very non-judgmental way. Again, to avoid the feelings of shame and guilt that will be demotivators for us to continue this type of habit. So we have to do kind of a past audit, but we also need to look towards the future and be intentional about where our money is going to go in the future. We can't just ad lib this money thing typically. And so that's where the exercises come in that we just finished in the last module about values and goals. Your money coming in, money creates freedom, and money creates options for you and flexibility. So as money comes in, you get to decide where that goes based on what's important to you. What values are you living by putting that money in that place? And so it's really, again, intentionality is a big part of it. And it really is something that's actually very positive, and you can track your progress towards your goals. So if we change our perspective a little bit and see it that way, it actually becomes something you can look forward to. I know that sounds weird, but it's a way to consistently see how much progress you're making towards the things that you want the most. See how different of a mindset that is? Before it was, how bad did we do this last month? Where did we screw up this last month? To how much progress and how much closer is this thing that I want? It's a subtle shift, but it's extremely important to really get out a mental block and just really look at this objectively and look at it intentionally. So that's the real purpose of budgeting or intentional spending, is to decide and chart the course for your future. And if we do that and we align that spending with our values, spending money can actually bring a lot of happiness. It can bring a lot of joy. It can bring a sense of accomplishment. It can bring us a sense of progress and momentum. And we want momentum. We want progress, and we want all of those good things. And that's part of the habit that will continue to help us be consistent at this activity. Okay. So as we go through talking about, different ways to budget, different ways that people do it, different ways to look at it, I want you to focus on that mindset shift so that we can make a clean break with any negative emotion that we have connected with budgeting, make a clean break from that, and chart a clean path forward through spending according to values. And as a couple, this is especially important. We got to be on the same page. We can't have one person dictating how much money the other one gets to spend. That is not a great way to go about this. If we have one person dictating, I'll just give you an example, okay? Early on in our marriage with me and my wife, I was always the one that was looking at the money, right? So I'd say, hey, let's jump on board. And my wife, she's frugal. She does not spend a lot of money naturally. Okay, so I already knew that typically speaking, she was going to keep inside of a budget naturally. Okay, that's just kind of how we were both raised. It just kind of worked out that way. So she doesn't like spending money on herself. When she does spend money, it's usually for me or the family, and it's usually on essential things. Okay, and if it's something non-essential, it's usually not for her. It's for somebody else. Okay, that's just the kind of person she is. So early on in our marriage, I got into a really bad habit of kind of dictating how much we were going to spend in each category. So we used Mint back in the day when that was pretty new, actually. And we'd say, hey, all right, for groceries, I'd say, hey, how much do you think we could spend on groceries this month? And she'd give a number, and I'd say, okay. So back then, I remember specifically not spending over $100 a month on groceries, right? Poor college student type thing, probably even less. Anyway, it's crazy to think about times back then. I can't imagine spending that much on groceries now, but different phases of life. So she might have said, hey, $100 will cover us for groceries and also buy some bulk items of things that will actually last us longer than a month. And I remember just kind of saying, okay, well, let's try and keep it to 75, or let's try and keep it to this number below. So what was happening here is she would tell me how much she thought, based on her past experience and how we eat and, what meals. She typically took main responsibility for meal prep or meal planning. So she knew, and she would also buy healthy things and that type of thing. She had a really good idea of how much we were going to spend on groceries. I didn't. And I disregarded what she said. And I didn't know I was doing this. Okay. This is just something I thought like, oh, hey, okay, you say 100, like maybe let's keep it lower. That's how budgeting worked. And let's keep it to 75 this month. Fast forward, we'd look back and be like, hey, we actually spent, $110 on groceries. And she said, well, there were some case lot sales and we bought a lot of canned items and this and that. I'm like, okay, well, $110 though, we budgeted 75. We're way over budget. All right, so let's just break this down really quick. How did this work emotionally? Number one, she felt completely undervalued. She felt disregarded because she would say something and I would just change it. Okay. And she would feel guilty that all of a sudden she was, $35 over budget because I set a lower budget and she was aiming at a number that was, more realistic, which was higher. Plus she did something that was kind of looking forward for a few months, but I didn't see it that way. I just felt like money went out this month and it was too much. So she feels shame and guilt and like I'm blaming her for spending too much. And in reality, that's exactly what I was doing. And it was not healthy. Okay. It did not work. And I know that this is a pretty common thing that happens, as couples when we look at budgeting in one way or the other. Or it's, wait, how much did you eat out this month for lunch? Like, why didn't you make lunch and take it to work? Or wait, how many clothes did you buy? Or how much did you spend on Amazon? This is not the way to go. This will lead to disaster. Okay. So when we're creating a spending plan as a couple, both partners are 100% equal here. If one person is primarily the income earner and one person, primarily manages the household budget, so to speak, or makes the expenditures, it's not okay for the person that makes the income to dictate where the money goes. Okay, so that has to end. This has to be a completely team effort, both people on the same page. Okay, that's the only way that this is going to succeed. I've seen it get really bad, and nobody wants it to get to that place. We know that money is a massive cause of conflict among couples and an off-cited reason for divorce and things like that. It's these little things that snowball into big things and then create issues. So we're 100% on the same page here. When we talk spending, we got to trust each other. You both want the same thing, okay? You're aiming at the same goal. So treat each other that way. Okay. So as we dive into some of the specifics and some of the different ways that might help you look at budgeting and actually like work the numbers, I want you to keep all of this in mind. No judgment for yourself or your spouse. Keep the negativity out of it. And it's very forward thinking, forward looking towards goals, progress towards the things that you want. And that's budgeting is what can give you the freedom to do that. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right in.
Let's spend with purpose and design the life we want.